Greetings. This video is on how to write a persuasive paragraph for a Year 9 student at a C level. If you've watched the information about how to write an introduction, this should be where you're at. And you might have heard me say that it's important to make sure that you've got a plan as to what each paragraph is going to be about before you start. Now, for this particular example, I'm working on the topic that chewing gum should be banned. On my plan, I've outlined that paragraph 1 is going to focus specifically on the issue of health. And the example that I'm going to be working on is the fact that chewing gum doesn't digest properly. And this is the reason why it should be banned. Now remember, if you don't have this basic information in front of you, you're going to have difficulty writing your first paragraph. Don't expect to just make it up on the spot. Think ahead, go back, come up with your ideas, and then follow these steps. Now the most important thing to make sure that we're following in order to get a C is structure. If we can show the evidence of a structure, we will definitely get a C. And in this case, there are 4 steps that we need to follow in order to effectively communicate that structure. So let's go over them now. We're using a process which is essentially referred to as TEAL, which basically stands for topic sentence, elaboration, evidence, and linking statement. It's a fairly commonly used structure for any kind of paragraph, though it's not the only structure that you might come across. However, in this case, it's one that we're going to be using. So therefore, if you are able to show evidence of each of these 4 stages of structure, you have met the C level for your essay. So here we go. We're starting with the T, which in this case is the topic sentence. Now the topic sentence is an important part because it essentially tells us exactly what is going to be in this paragraph. Okay, so I'll just write that down. What is going to be in this paragraph? The key here is that if someone is just skimming over your essay, they can just read your topic sentences and they know the basic points of what you're going to do. So we're putting this together in a fairly basic structure. Okay, we're using fairly basic language. I'm not really getting too fussed about how classy it sounds because I'm just going for that C level. Alright, what is going to be in the paragraph? Well, we know in this case that it's going to be about health. And we know that the topic is about chewing gum, and we know that we're not really big fans of chewing gum because we think that it should be banned. So I'm going to string together a few key words. The first word is the fact of chewing gum, because obviously the entire, or chewing duck, as I just said, chewing gum, because we know that the entire essay should be about chewing gum. Okay. We also know that chewing gum is a negative thing, so I'm going to say it has a negative impact in this case. I could have said negative effect, I could have said causes negative problems, anything like that, as long as it doesn't sound very good. And then all I need to say is that last piece of information, which is about health, so I'm just going to say on health. Full stop. Chewing gum has a negative impact on health. Moving on, we now go into the E section, which is our elaboration. Now the elaboration is a really important step because it stops people from getting confused about what we're writing about. For example, chewing gum has a negative impact on health could be misinterpreted to make you think that chewing gum, holding a stick of chewing gum in its packet could cause you to drop dead, which is in this case untrue, but it would certainly be a reasonable thing to take away if this was the only information you had available to you. So the elaboration explains the key terms. Okay? In this case, we've said the word chewing gum up above, but we haven't said exactly what form that chewing gum needs to take. We have to think about what we mean because, of course, chewing gum can come in a packet, it can be on a shelf, it could be in your neighbour's house, it could be in your friend's backpack. There's all of these kinds of different things. So in this case, we just need to very simply explain exactly what we mean. So I'm going to say, when people chew and swallow gum. Now, obviously I'm talking about people swallowing gum because I'm talking about digestion in my example. So it's really important that I actually make sure I clarify that. That's called clarifying the context. So, when people chew and swallow gum, that's what I mean by chewing gum. I don't mean when people buy a packet of chewing gum and put it in their backpack, their stomach doesn't digest properly. That wouldn't make sense. So I have to be really clear. When people chew and swallow gum, now the other thing I need to explain is a negative impact on health. What do I mean? Getting killed is a negative impact on health. Having your head fall off of your body is a negative impact on health. Neither of those things am I talking about right now. In fact, I'm talking about fairly minor things in comparison to having your head fall off of your body. I'm just talking about having minor digestive problems that could maybe possibly become bigger problems. When people chew and swallow gum, it can cause minor disruption in their digestive system. It's not going to stop you from being able to digest anything ever again. It's not going to make you drop dead straight away. Well, not necessarily, I guess. It's about minor disruption to what would normally be a pretty healthy system. And that's all I'm really saying. So you've got to make sure that you actually explain that. We now move on to the context of the evidence section. And this is where I bring in my example. It could be evidence, it could be example, doesn't matter what language I'm using, but essentially here is where I need to give an example. So here I'm just going to use, again, very simple language, and I'm just going to say, when chewing gum is swallowed, it can take up to 5 years to digest and exit the body. Sounds a bit gross, but essentially, nice, clear understanding of what my example is. The next part of this is I just need to, usually I'd say this is a problem because it can cause, health concerns and affect diet and regulation. Okay, I've been pretty broad in that, but I guess the idea is you just want to show why something is a problem. The last step I need to do is what's called the linking statement, and the most important thing about the linking statement is that you now show what the relationship is between whatever you've just been talking about and the final point, or not the final point, but the overall topic, which is that chewing gum should be banned. So, my linking statement, I need to make my paragraph relevant to the overall topic. So in this case, once again, using fairly simple language, I'm just going to say, oops, I've accidentally pasted something there when what I meant to do was change from bold. I'm saying here, we have shown why chewing gum should be banned. Okay, and there we have it. Okay, I've now successfully met all 4 steps, and if I can follow each of those 4 steps and show evidence, no matter what my language might look like, I've got my C-level paragraph. And if I can create that, well, I know I've passed, and that's the most important thing to get us started. So, as you can see, I'm now just grabbing all of these things and pasting them all together. All of the colours are there, wonderful rainbow, but I'm just going to now make them all the same and just read, chewing gum has a negative impact on health. When people chew and swallow gum, it can cause minor disruption in their digestive system. When chewing gum is swallowed, it can take up to 5 years to digest and exit the body. And this is a problem because it can cause health concerns and affect diet and regulation. Here we have shown why chewing gum should be banned. That's a C-level paragraph, easy to follow, and as long as I've got evidence of teal, I've passed.